Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Facebook. Hello, Splash students. I'm here one more time. I'm so glad to see you this beautiful Saturday morning. I hope that your week went well, and I hope you're ready to do some art. But before we talk about art, let's talk about health. Our health is important. The pandemic is still spiking, and we want to remember to wear these. Wear your face mask. Make sure that you do not go outside without a face mask with you. And when you see people, try to stay 6 feet away. I know it's hard to do. I know kids, you're playing with your friends right now, but this world is changing and we're trying to slow this pandemic. There is a vaccine that's coming out. Many people will not even take the vaccine because they don't trust it yet. So these face masks, these are our best chance to get back to how life used to be, or normal. So remember to wear your face mask and try to encourage your parents to wear their face masks because we don't want them to get sick. And this virus will kill you. We don't want your parents to get sick and die because of the coronavirus. So talk to your parents about wearing face masks. Talk to your friends about it. And let's grow up. Let's grow up and take responsibility for our neighbor and for ourselves. All right, that makes sense? Great. Today, I'm going to draw a kitty cat. We are going to draw a kitty cat. And so our title for today is, Here, Kitty Kitty. If you ever want to attract a cat to you, that's how you do it. You say, Here, Kitty Kitty, in a high tone voice. I saw a beautiful cat the other day that I want to adopt, but I can't adopt a cat because I have a little dog that barks at cats. So anyway, let's turn to the drafting table and let's begin. So as usual, I want you to find you a HB or 2H, 4H, 3H, any pencil with an H on it, and we're going to sketch. I keep reiterating about the sketching. Hopefully, in a week or two, sometime before the end of this year, I'm going to do a landscape painting, one of my paintings in oil paints, and we'll be able to show you the process of doing a important work of art, an important painting. Okay, so let's look forward to that, and we'll be in the other studio, and I'll work on an easel for that. So, but I want you guys to get used to sketching. So we've been focusing on sketching. So when you see the picture of the cat, this is the picture I'm using. I'm going to, in my mind, I'm going to draw a contour of the cat's body, which happens to be a shape that's sort of like an oval. You see how I'm holding my pencil? I'm making a light sketch. So it's not one line. A sketch consists of many lines. So there's a shape that looks sort of like a donut. Not a donut. What would this shape be? Like a hot dog, a bent hot dog, or a half of a donut. And that's what I'm looking at when I see this cat. So I put mine in the center, and that's what we usually do, but I'm going to move it back to the left-hand side of the picture. I don't want my shape to be dead center. So try not to put, when you draw, try not to put your figure. When I say figure, I mean if it's something alive, a living being like a cat or a dog or a person, we call that the figure. If it has legs and arms or what have you, we call that the figure. Try not to put it dead center of the paper because it creates an effect that's very boring, called a target effect. So no matter what you're drawing, we're drawing a cat just to draw a cat. Next year, hopefully, if you guys are ready, we're going to show you how to make art. We're just practicing, we're sketching now, and this is just practice. You could call it art, But I want you to get used to sketching, but you want your sketches at some point to have meaning or feeling or something. You want something to be about it. So now I'm going to decide where the cat's head is. And the cat's head is a circle or oval, and it's almost like the center of the body, and it's large, around right in here. It's the cat's head. Now, I don't actually draw this way, but this is, I like to show you the basic techniques of drawing. These are the basic techniques that you will be able, you can change. But if you, once you can see the shapes and once you know how important shapes are, then you will develop your own way of doing it. This is not the only way. This is just a way, and the easiest way is to see shapes. Okay, so in my own art, I would probably just start with the head, decide where I want the head to be on the page, and then draw the rest of the body. So I can't stick to this shape I drew here because I'm going to make changes. I'm going to see things differently. So the cat is looking up. So this would be the top of the head here. See, this circle represents the head. I'm going to draw these lines, a curved line here. I don't know if you can see that well, so I'll do another sketch and make it easy for you to see. I'll do it with a marker. So what I've done is I've drawn like the shape of the cat's head. Since I'm looking down on the cat in this direction, and and the cat is looking up, then it's like an oval that's turned up. So say this is the cat's head here. Now he looks up, so it turns like that. And when it turns, it changes how we see these lines. If the cat was looking dead at me, straight at me, if we were on the same plane, the line for the eyes would be here, and the line for the nose would be here, and the mouth would be there. But since it's turned up slightly, the line is going to appear to bend. We have to know that, and that's how you make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. So this is how I'm seeing that. And the head is slanted, so it's bent. Okay, and then I'm going to put the ears on top, and then I'll draw the body behind the ears. Okay, so in case you can't see the sketch, this is what I'm doing, and the eyes are going to be kind of like that. They're slanted, and the nose, wherever the nose goes, it's going to be down here somewhere, and then the mouth. Okay, so that's how I'm drawing that cat's face. So I'm sketching lightly. I didn't know if you could see what I was doing, and that's why I did that. What I just did was, this is the picture I'm looking at. I put my pencil on the cat's face so I could see the angle of the pencil. And you see this angle? Then I put the pencil on my sheet of paper, and I draw that same angle. We call that measuring. Now, the distance between the cat's eye is sort of like another eye. So I need to decide where I want the eye to be, but first I'm deciding where I want the nose to be. Did we come on a little like 5 minutes late, Iantha? Okay, so I'm watching the clock. I'm gonna make sure about the time. So the eyes are shaped like a football, but they are slanted at an angle. Now I have what's called astigmatism. So I have a difficult time getting things the same size. So I have to actually use my, I have to do a lot of measuring in order to do that. Ooh, I hurt my shoulder. I have a bum shoulder that I just hurt. It has to, your drawing has to feel correct. It has to feel right. And that's the main thing. The cat's eyes, the pupil is not round. It's a slit. I don't know why cat's eyes, so maybe I should have found that out so I could share that with you. I don't know why cat's eyes look like that. Do you guys know? Now I'm trying to find the side of the cat's face. I'm using his markings or her markings to figure that out. The cat should not look like a dog. And I don't know when the last time I drew a cat, by the way, if I have ever drawn a cat. So it's not so easy for me to draw things I've never drawn before. So I have to really trust my eyes. There's a little line here underneath the nose. And the mouth is there. I'm going to shade that in to remind me where it is. And then the chin is very small. Totally different than a dog. Then I guess that would be cat's cheek or jaw. Okay. And when I paint this, now this is what we call, this is like mundane, you know. Once you start trying to actually make art, just the ability to draw something and make it look like the thing is not enough for the artist or for the serious art collector. There has to be something, there need to be something else about the picture. Rather, if it's only reproducing a photograph, it's really not enough interest to, to make the picture be considered, interesting as art. I think the picture should be interesting. So when doing this type of pictures, see, I'm just putting some sketch. These sketch lines are to remind me of some things, not just the shading, but the fact that this cat has some whiskers. And I don't know if I'm just going to leave lines for the whiskers. Or just use white paint. I'll probably use white paint. There are other ways to do it too. You could actually block out the whiskers with a type of medium, especially for watercolors. I forgot what it's called, that medium. Gum arabic. You're right, gum arabic. And what it does is it will peel off the paper. So I don't know how tall to make the cat's ears, so I'm going to measure it by putting my pencil on it. So I measure the size of the ears from the tip of the ears to the head, put my finger on that measurement. Then I try to find something else on the cat's face that's close to that measurement that I could remember. Okay, so the distance from this eye to that point is about the same length as the cat's ears. So then I put it on my paper, okay. So I was about to make the ears a little bit too large. And the ears are kind of sort of like a triangle. So we can see that triangular shape, and then we draw the lumps and bumps. I'll teach you contour I'd rather, even before you do contour drawing, I really want you to train your eyes. So if you can see it, then the contour is going to be a little bit, once you add that to your sight, your ability to see, then you're going to be more accurate. Your work is going to be a little bit more accurate. So I'm doing a lot of measuring here. I want to know what is the angle of that ear. That's the angle there, closer to the angle. So I'm spending my time trying to make sure the drawing. Now, the cat's ear has some fur. So I'm going to sketch that, the fur that's in the ears. And I'm going to use that. I'm going to use my drawing to inform my painting or to teach me how to paint. Show me where everything goes. This cat has a lot of whiskers. And there's some markings that sort of trace the cat's head. So I'm going to indicate those markings on the fur. So I mentioned what I'm drawing is pretty mundane. It's not. It's pretty. It could be. It's pretty boring, basically. But what makes it not boring, hopefully, is the way that I'm drawing it, or the way that I paint it. So I want the painting kind of like, there's no such thing as realistic art. I think I've mentioned that before. So it gets confusing. As a artist, a young artist, you need to understand that everything's abstract. This is a drawing of a cat. This is not a cat, right? So that makes it abstract. So no matter how realistic I think I'm making this thing, it's always going to be abstract. And I said that to say this. When I'm painting and when I'm making my sketch marks, I'm thinking in terms of abstraction. I'm thinking in terms of shapes. Right now I'm thinking texture, form. I'm thinking form. I'm thinking the figure in the ground. And this is something that I do that could help you when drawing animals or something, live, that's alive. What is happening? So his paw, his left paw is coming forward a little bit, and his right leg is turned under his body. So I'm saying that in my mind to myself. And so I'm trying to think of how does that feel? The weight of the cat's body is on that left leg, that right leg, I'm sorry. And so when I'm drawing and I'm thinking that determines if my line gets a little heavier or not. These are the mental notes that you make. And this paw comes out and it's round and very round. So all that's going through my mind. Now the cat is on laying on something, it looks like silk, because this was taken by a professional photographer. I'm really looking at this area here, this V, this shape, or triangle shape right there. So that's the negative space. I'm looking at this negative space to know where the background of his body is. When I say negative space, I mean the cat's figure body is considered the positive space. Everything else is considered negative. So now in my mind, I'm blocking out whatever this is, the cat. And now I'm just looking at this shape here. It don't have to be perfect, but it's like a puzzle. And then when I draw this part of the body, I'm going to draw the positive shape first, but then I'm going to look at the negative space. That shape, this shape here, in this part right there, I'll just put an X there. I'm going to look at that shape. And I'm just going to get it as close as I can to what I think I see. That's a little trick that you can use to make things look a little bit more accurate. And looking at this shape here as well as this shape, the positive and the negative shape becomes important. That's a neat little thing to do in drawing. And I'll keep reminding you to do stuff like that. Because I don't know who will pick it up. I don't know who's listening, who's not listening. And for me, when I'm teaching, adults can learn, not just children. 4 to 94, remember? Splash has now, because of COVID, we have a lot of adults that watch us online. Before, we would have a class of 15 kids or more, but now we might have 30 or more, so, or 100 or 70. Now, I don't know, I am going to sketch in a little bit of where this cloth folds underneath the cat's paw. I don't know how much of that I'm going to use, but it's kind of interesting. So, it's not that important to me right now, but it may be important once I start painting. So now we have the cat's face down. I want the cat's face to be the most important thing, just like the photograph in this instance. I'm going to try to leave white for the fur. I'm going to leave the paper for white. But that's not going to work with the whiskers. So hopefully my white paint will work. Now, let's paint this cat. I think I'm going to start with I see so many colors in this cat. Like in real life, whatever colors are surrounding a subject, they sort of show up. There's so many colors, I don't know which colors to start with. You think it's just brown and white, but I see a whole lot more colors than that. I think I'm going to start with a yellow or ochre. I'm going to start with a yellow and then go to an ochre. I'm going to just build this up. See if you can follow me. Now in the end, I want this to look like watercolor. I don't want it to look like ink. The photograph is done in ink that's been printed on a magazine page. But I want to use the beauty of watercolors. That's the type of paints we're using. I tell you the truth, sometimes looking at the photograph too much can really limit your art. You want to look at it a lot for just for reference, but at some point you have to just say, well, I don't like that. That wouldn't work in watercolors. So I'm seeing some things now that there's some pretty thick watercolor here. This ochre. It's kind of like it's thick like gouache. So I'm thinking about large areas first, okay? Also, and here's something that it took me a long time to do. I didn't learn this, and a lot of things that I'm teaching you, I didn't learn until I was in college, to tell the truth. I know there's a lot better teaching now in high schools, but one concept is try to paint the entire picture instead of just sections. Don't just start at one section. You notice how I'm using this one color. I'm trying to place it everywhere where I think I need it. Just the ochre, I'm just going to focus on ochre and yellow and the white paper showing through right now. So the thin ochre, like underneath the eyes. Let the paper show through. That makes it appear to be lighter. I'm using my drawing. In watercolors, it's okay to see the drawing. Well, in any medium, actually. It depends on what you want to do. I'm going to see, I've decided to put a little ochre here. The picture don't look that way. And I'm not going to paint this exactly like the picture. So I'm going to put my stamp on it. Who am I as an artist? See, by my putting ochre in different places on this picture, what it's doing is giving this picture a type of unity in terms of color, which, even though this is a mundane subject matter, it can end up looking like art if I'm successful. Every picture I do is not successful, but I have more pictures that are successful these days than before because I'm willing to spend the time to work on them. So if you're willing to spend the time, which means, hours or days or weeks, and you don't have this quitter mentality. A lot of our kids have this give up mentality. And I'm trying to get rid of that. Of course, splash students, we don't have that, do we? Not splash students. Because we don't give up. We fix things, don't we? Put a little white down here. I just had an idea about a new way of painting with watercolors just now. I'm not gonna tell you because I don't want you to steal my ideas yet. I'm giving you the ideas you can steal. I just had see. It's amazing that while painting, you can have ideas. I wanted to mix some pink. That's why I put some red down, some white down. Getting some red. Mix a little white with the red. That's for the nose. and the lips. And for the shadows, a little darker red. There's little things like that can really help you. I'm going to allow some of this pink to fall down on the body. Little things like this. I'm trying to make this painting interesting. So it's not just a picture of a cat, it's a painting of a cat. I'm not going to go too crazy like I would do in my own art because I don't want to. See how I'm just putting some pink over here? I don't need that line there, that sketch line, so I'm going to get rid of it. See how I'm just using erasers to get rid of lines I no longer need. I needed that line in the beginning just to find the shape. But now that the shape is here, I don't need that line anymore. So I want this painting to have some unity. Now I'm thinking about, I'm gonna get some purple, maybe a little, first yellow. The yellow in this picture is very important. Remember we was talking about unity? So that the yellow may be something that might unify the picture. Also, yellow is a warm color, so when I place yellow here, it brings the cat's body forward on top of that leg. So yellow and red, purple, they are warm colors. Red, you can consider red hot. Yellow is hotter than red. And white is even hotter, like white hot. Think of the sun. I'm still searching. So where else could I use pink or red? I'm going to put some red in the background that I'm going to cover later because I want it to carry more weight. Now, I don't know if that's going to work, but it might work. It may work. I say a lot, nothing's etched in stone. We're trying to find the picture. Now I'm going to add purple. So far, I'm only using ochre and yellow, which arguably is the same color. Yellow is, ochre is just a darker yellow. And I've added red, and this purple has red in it, right? Red and blue makes purple. So I'm trying to find some flesh-like colors. Say, for instance, in the ear area, the purple makes it a little darker, but it still has red in it. Now, you can use totally different colors than what I'm using. Now, I do want a little blue. I want my blue to turn gray though, so I'm going to put a little blue up here. I guess I could darken the purple a little bit with the blue. I don't want it to be obviously blue. I'd rather it look more purple than blue. Now, the reason why I'm seeing these colors is because the history of this picture I'm thinking about, that I'm just aware that I can see these colors, but I understand that the cat was under lights. The photographer used lights. So the shadows are going to be warm. So I'm using that reddish purple. So these warm grayish like colors. I'm gonna, even though I may put some purple down here, eventually I'm gonna use brown. And I am going to get some more blue. I keep dabbing. When I have too much paint on my brush, I dab it on this towel here. You can't see, but I'm dabbing it so that maybe if I put it here, you can see me. You can see what I'm doing. Because I'm trying to control everything. That's too blue there for me, and that's too purple. Now I'm struggling with trying to find the correct color that I want without adding. I could add a green and get exactly what I want. I want a type of gray, but I think I'd rather add brown for that at some point. So a bluish purple works for me. Now I'm always thinking about fur. So when I do marks like that, I'm thinking about fur. Now, I could go overboard. I don't want to have to go back with white, but I do want a little red there. You have to go with, you have to be yourself. And realize that you're going to make mistakes, or you're going to do things that don't work. Sometimes the mistakes are happy mistakes. Sometimes your mistakes are things that you hadn't considered at first. I'm going to go ahead and paint the blue in the eyes. And there's some highlights at the bottom of the eyes. I'll just paint this light blue, then I'm going to go back with a little darker. I'm trying to control it. You notice I'm trying to use one brush. I'm not going to go to another brush unless I just have to. Put a little purple in the blue. There's something I don't like that much, but I'm going to show you. If I'm going to take this up, I don't have to. Just by dabbing it before it dries. See that? There's also a technique that you can use. Matter of fact, I'm going to dab this. This is a little too hard. I'm going to dab that a little bit. There's a technique that you can use too to take paint up by dabbing it. Say, for instance, you're doing clouds or something, and you want to just take some paint up. You can use a paper towel to do that. Now to paint some of these details, I'm going to get a smaller brush, but not yet. Now I'm going to go to the brown. Just going to get the regular brown. I think I'll put the brown right here. See, when you use a palette, I'm using a paper palette in this case. So when I put my brown there, I can see, I can control how much I pick up. I can mix the colors if I want to. Now I want my brown to be a little darker right now. Well, no, I'll go with the lighter brown first. The lighter brown is closer to this ochre here. I'll go with that first. Usually lights before darks. I think I said that in the last class. Since this is not a photograph, I could mix a little blue in this brown if I wanted to. I don't want it to look like the photograph. The photograph is not doing enough for me. It's a nice photograph. As a photograph, it works perfectly. But as a painting, it doesn't. We look at paintings differently, whether you realize it or not, than a photograph. We see it differently. I'll say it that way. The way your mind processes a painting is going to be slightly different. If you're using the same judgment of paintings that you would for a photograph, you're missing the point. And things have to be learned to, some things to be appreciated, you have to learn how to look at it. Just like learning a different language. Art is a different language. It's a visual language. And so now in this language is about color and shape and form and line and texture, implied texture, and sometimes not so implied. So see how I used the blue? I painted this blue as a shadow here. I just needed to get a darker color. I mixed the blue with brown. This brush is too big, but since I want the paint to flow. Now for my paintings, I like for my paintings to paint themselves or to look like they painted themselves. So you don't see the artist that much. I'm going blue over this pink, purplish pink, makes it look gray, and the red underneath is showing through. So it's a sort of like you can call it a glaze, I guess. I need some red here to bring this forward. Put a little red. This is where your personal way of seeing comes into play, and your personal way of doing things. Notice I'm doing a little bit at a time using this brush. I'm barely touching. I'm not just painting. I'm not coloring. I'm not coloring as if I'm coloring with crayons. I'm barely touching right now. Just the tip of the brush. I'm going to dry this brush off and do some hatch marks with the brush, a bunch of them. So I want it to flow. What I'm trying to do, I'm building for the coup de grace. What does coup de grace mean, Iantha?
Final blow.
The final blow, the killer blow. It's like you heard the rapper called Killer Mike. Maybe that's where he got that from, Killer Mike. I'm going to kill it. So when I go back with the darks, I can, it may not work too. Remember, most of the time with young artists and with unexperienced artists, what you set out to do, it took me years to learn this. My teachers used to tell me this. I didn't like it. So I know a lot of people don't like to hear me say that. What you set out to do is not necessarily what you did. But in graduate school, during our graduate school critiques, I learned that truth, which those critiques were torture sometimes, but it made us better artists. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to be critiqued. Somebody to say, hey, this is not really what you thought. You didn't do what you thought you was doing. But then as you learn, you say, no, I'm not doing what I set out to do. Notice I'm painting all around. I'm getting ready to finish the painting, but I'm trying to do all my lighter colors now. Try to make sure that the painting looks like a painting. Looks like a watercolor painting. So, a person may not even like cats, but they may like the painting. Now I'm going back with, I'll use this brush for the background. I'm going to go back with my dark brown. I'm going to add some blue to my brown. I could add purple, but I think I'll add blue because that's what I want you guys to get used to doing for your dark colors like dark brown. See, that's a little bit too dark, so I need some more brown. That's too light. Now I have to remember, I have to tell myself. So you have to talk to yourself before you mess up something. This is watercolor. This is not oil paint, so it's not going to do the same thing as oil paint. I just had to tell myself that. So don't expect the same effect with watercolors. So use what it gives you. That's right. Oh, by the way, kids, if you're using, I think I got the brown I want. If you're using paper that's not heavy enough, if you paint too much in one area, you could put a hole in the paper. So be careful. I'm going to let this tail trail off. I'm going to let it be a little lighter. Leave a little bit more of the sketch on it. See? Yeah, I think that works. But remind yourself, you're not trying to do a picture. I'm just going to get rid of this. I'm not going to get rid of this line, but pencil mark, I'm just going to trace over it. So now I'm just trying to make the painting work. I'm talking you through this, so I want you to know what I'm thinking. I'm still looking at the picture though. I'm looking at these markings and where they are. I'm not going to use black, I don't think. If I do, if I use black, I'll have to go back in too many places. I prefer to use brown. I'll use black if I have no choice. Now I need a little bit more detail, so I'm going to try to find a smaller brush. I'll brush this in a little bit better condition as well. I have 3 brushes here, and whichever one works is good enough for me. So I'm going to use my drawings. I'm going to try to put the detail in the cat's head using mostly browns, I guess. Browns and blues. I could use some purple as well. I'm just going to go with brown and blues. The paint that the colors that I've already used is what I'm going to use. That thin brush is nice. I'm going to try something since this brush works pretty good. Now I'm going to put this brush back for, well, We started 5 minutes late. I'm using a purple for the hairs, these hairs. I'm following my drawing still. This brush is pretty good too. Put a little brown on it. See how you mixing these colors? Practice mixing your colors and see what happens. I'm following my drawing. It's all here. All I have to do, see, the drawing, the sketch, is when you figure out what you're looking at. What is it? You have to ask yourself, what is this I'm looking at? What do I see? And your sketch, I mixed some brown with purple here. Just that for you. Just a little too dark. So I'm going to put some in the background here. Put a little blue over the brown. It makes it look black, doesn't it? See, that blue makes it look black. And this dark background is going to push this lighter face forward. This is blue. It looks like I'm using black, but it's blue. It's not black. So now it's like, okay, this is my painting, and I need to make it work. So, and I have more tools than a camera. Camera don't have that many tools, but a painting does. Colors, I can use all these colors any way I want to. I'll do a dark purplish brown. See if this works for the eyes. Add a little blue to it. Tap my brush. It needs to be sort of dry. To make a hard line, the brush needs to be sort of dry. I'm just trying to get a dark color here. Paint the markings on the top of the cat's head, mixing the blue with the brown. Okay, kind of reminds me of a tiger. Okay, I'm gonna get a smaller brush and paint these markings. To me, I think one of the hardest things for me is going to be these markings. So I can make real quick scumbling marks. It's nice to have a good thin brush. I'm going to actually trace around the ear a little bit. Going back to the pink. Makes it look like cartilage, the ear, by using that pink in there, on the fur. I plan on using going back with some white paints. Now, if white watercolors didn't work, I would use white gouache. Getting very close. By putting this bluish gray underneath, trying to project the face, push the face forward toward us. I'm going in with some wet ochre to bring this head together a little bit. Bring it, give it some unity. Blending. blue again. This is sort of wet and wet, painting wet on wet. I need to dry this so I can paint. I'm getting ready to paint the whiskers. So I have to put a wash on here to give this head some volume. I need to dry the wash. I could wait till it dry, but since we don't have a lot of time, I'm going to have to blow dry it. Now, since this is a drawing and this is not a photograph, I can do whatever I need to do to make this work. So I'm going to push that back on this side. The main thing is I want you to see the cat's face. I want it to be clear. So by putting some darker colors underneath, it pushes the face, the white in the face forward. Okay, I'm going to blow dry this, and once I blow dry it, I'm just going to paint in a few whiskers. I want you to see how to do that, and we'll be finished. I know I'm going over a couple of minutes, but now when you're making your art, don't time it. If it takes 3 days, it don't matter. But because this is a live feed, it's about time to go. See, these little marks I'm doing here, this is just how I paint. This is the way I do it, okay? It's not always logical what I do. When I'm putting brown right here is not logical, but the painting itself need to happen. Okay, that needs to happen. Yeah. Now I'm thinking about what's going to make the painting look right, look good. And then I'm going to go ahead and do something like this. You have to be bold. You have to be bold. I'm trying to put some purple there too. See? I want it darker on this side. Okay, now let's blow dry this. And hopefully you can see what happened. I really want this area dry here. The beauty in watercolors is that it looks like water. Looks like you're painting with water. Remember that. When you're painting in acrylics, it's slightly different. Painting in oils is totally different. So I'm going to pick up some of this thick paint. I just need a little water. I want it to go on thick. And watch what I do. So hopefully, if this is dry, and it's pretty dry, look what happens. I'm just barely touching the paper. I don't know if you can see that. Making little thin white strokes. Make a lot of them. If this was gouache, you'd be able to see it better. But sometimes it's these little details that make the painting. Just barely touching the tip of the brush. Just barely touching the paper. Okay, has some very long eyebrows. It's all in the whiskers. Okay, that's good enough, I think. Of course, what you do, put your name. That's my initial, CN. Put your name and your age if you are a Splash student. Because you never know when you're going to do something, and we see it and we say, hey, that needs to be in the art show. Here, kitty, kitty. Here, kitty, kitty. That was the title of our project today, was Here, kitty, kitty. I see one little bit I want to do. If I keep looking at this, I'm going to keep seeing things I want to do. Just that little bit there was not connected. And this bit is not connected. So there you go. That's it. Here, kitty, kitty. I hope you enjoyed our class today. I am going to do one more thing. I can't stop painting. I want to make the eyes a little darker. I can't stop painting. Somebody stop me. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Thank you for joining me one more time. Remember, you can replay this and slow it down and, paint your own cat. Remember, until next time, art is for everyone. Bye-bye.